have a situation, your car breaks down, and like a lot of people, you're out of work, or your salary is still cut, or you don't have the free money, it's coming up to summer, you're going on holiday, you've got birthdays in the family, whatever it is, there's always a reason. The shopping bills increased from last month. You can't afford to fix the car, or you don't want to even try and find out how much it's going to fix the car, or you haven't got the money to send it on a recovery truck. So you go online and you Google it, like when you've got a headache and it comes back and tells you you've got a brain tumour or your back's broken or something else. And you find a forum that's an owner's club or a fan forum, whatever you want to call them, or a YouTube video that seems to be describing the exact same problem you've got, and everybody's done it. So, okay, my steering's not working. There's oil everywhere when I open the bonnet, and there's a big whining noise. And, oh, there's a hole in a pipe. And this video, it's real easy to change this video, real easy to change it, 20 minutes job. So I'm going to take this pipe off, and I'm going to repair this pipe, and then I'm going to put the pipe back on. Except the person in the video is actually a mechanic, and he's got tools, and he's in a workshop, and he's done this before, and it's not 45 degrees, and you're not outside in the baking sun, and he's not covered in power steering oil that is super, super thin and slippy, plus the pint of sweat that's run down your arm. So then you can't get the hose repaired because you don't really know how to do that. And then even if you did, you don't actually know how to get it back on the car. So now the car can't move at all because there's no connection on your power steering. All the oil's going to drain out, and you're going to damage your pump if you start the engine. And the pump's going to be about 6,000 dirhams to replace, whereas the hose is 500 dirhams. So what do you do? And this isn't the only time we get it. It annoyed me this week because obviously I was then stood in the sun fixing it at whatever the humidity and the temperature was, and physically can't see because sweat's filling my eyes. I can't hold on to my ratchet to try and tighten anything up because my ratchet's slipping out of my hands. There's no space, so I'm using a quarter drive ratchet, and this is my rant. Forums and owners clubs and YouTube warriors are very, very dangerous places. We can't understate how unsafe it is to work on your own car when you don't necessarily have the experience. But also at the same time, a lot of people are just trolls out there, and a lot of people that say it's easy for them, so it'll be easy for you, have actually done this 20 times. They are experienced technicians or mechanics, or they have a life that they lead where they can tinker around with cars and they get some experience, and going on there and finding out that something's easy doesn't always, and often, more often than not, is never that easy to do. And there's always variables that you can't predict. Something as simple as an oil change on a car can take 15 minutes, but if you take the drain plug out and the threads come out with it, you then can't move the car without putting new threads in or potentially a new oil sump, because you can't put oil back in because it's going to leak out. And these things happen all the time, and forums and owners clubs that always go on about how garages rip people off and dealers get a real hard time on there. They really, really need to be taken with rather a pinch of salt, probably a truckload of salt.
Did we, I was going through some of our notes, and did we ever talk about the catalytic converter debacle?
We didn't get that far, no.
So I thought that was interesting, just in the fact that people are struggling in different parts of the world to make ends meet. And you know, we've all heard the stories about ripping out wires in places that are being put together in the copper, and that's why everything's going to plastic. Catalytic converters are full of precious metals.
Yeah.
Toyota spending £1 million to deter catalytic converter theft. Wow. Never even dawned on me that someone could get under the car and rip that catalytic converter out.
Yeah, definitely. Real easy, actually. And look, without being too cynical here on this one, for me, it's kind of a fool's errand. You can mark them all you want.
Yeah.
Where I lived, the town I was working in, Chesterfield, we had a huge percentage of the county's mechanics in that area. Like there was retailers, dealers, whatever you want to call them, for every brand you can imagine within a mile radius. And there was thousands of mechanics, and it's like with any trade, people from your own profession, and you'd see them on a night out, or you'd see them on a day out, or there'd always be someone, he works at Seat, or he works at Land Rover, or whatever. And there was thousands of us, and there was all of the subsequent businesses that open up around new car sales, so scrap yards, salvage yards. There was dozens of them within 20 miles. Like, you could go to if you went 20 miles in any direction, you'd find one easily, and you'd probably find 3 or 4, and they're not checking, because by the time it's processed, they've sold it, and they've made a profit. And I'm not saying this is that everyone's unscrupulous. I'm not saying that. No. But what I'm saying is, these things won't affect criminals. Criminals are always a step ahead, and this is just a little bit too late, unless things are planted to catch people. And if you plant them to catch certain people, and you've been watching on, then great, no problem, because this gives you gives you the proof. But I don't think, unfortunately, I just don't think this is going to work necessarily, unless we haven't got the whole story, and they are going to do. They used to do it. They used to park cars up and leave the windows open and leave handbags and laptops on the seat on high streets, and leave them with secret filming and CCTV to catch people that are. But to me, I feel like you're not necessarily catching a recidivist. You're probably just catching somebody who's had a crap month and just thought, that's not a bad opportunity. They're not necessarily, it might be the first time they do it, and then they're getting the book thrown at them. Whereas someone smart, and I use that term in terms of how they're smart towards the law or crime, was probably going to walk past that and think, that's too good to be true. I'm not going to lose. I'm on a good one here. I'm just going to wait and hit that house that I've been planning to hit tonight, and I'm just going to walk by. Or I'm going to scope it out and come back later. Whereas an opportunistic person who might not have done it before just gets caught. So I think it opens everybody's eyes to the fact that there are precious metals in catalytic converters, and it maybe
there's a lot of value in your car.
Of course, things that you can't understand or realise. But for me, I don't actually think it's going to stop the crimes happening. If anything, it's probably just opened people's eyes to it, and
it helps too. So you finally got this power steering hose.
Oh yeah, that was done. Yeah, copious amounts of sweating, and lots of
profanity.
Yeah, always. Me and DJ are together again, so like that's horrific in there. Horrific. No, there's lots of starting and charging system failures. So starter motors, alternators, main cables. We've got 2 vehicles in same issue. Cables that have got black death, so they're just going black and corroding, so they're high resistance. Something that we saw a lot on the 996 Porsche. There was a technical bulletin, and I don't think it was ever recalled. I don't think it got to that point. I might be wrong there, but we do a lot of them where the cables get black, so you take all the cable out.
And what's causing that?
Just moisture.
Just moisture.
It's obviously contaminated somewhere that's allowing it to do that. But then the heat damage. So lots of those at the minute where we've got, and also window switches. Plastic window switches.
I used to have issues with that with my Hyundai Caliper. I would go through window switches every year.
Yeah, a neighbour of mine called me and said, my window's dropped in, do you mind picking it up and taking it in? I was thinking, it's the driver one as well. So I'm going to have another one open, because otherwise it's just going to buff it
and give me a
headache.
It's a dryer.
And it's like 22 kilometres from work and it's 50 degrees.
And the sun's going to be shining in your driver's side window.
And then when I got there, the switch was sort of wobbly, so I took the switch out and tried to clean the contacts up and manually operate it, and luckily the window went up. I was like, yes. And obviously then for the customer, that's great, because changing the regulator on the car is a lot more expensive, which is usually what fails.
Right.
So just a switch pack. But lots of these sort of plastic failures and stuff in cars just...
Plastic's a big one, right? We forget about that
age of being dead. It's weird, because I was thinking the other day, I was talking to my eldest daughter, talking to her about what she'd learned at school and stuff. And I remember that we had a teacher when the first time I had her when I was about May's age. I was a year older than May is now. But I had a teacher, and she was telling us about plastic. We were learning about plastic. I was like 6 or something, 6 or 7, and she was senior but not old, which this is like early 90s. And she said she remembered being our age as a kid, and one of the detergent brands in the UK, when plastic became plastic is here and plastic can do this, and you can get your mop handle in plastic, and these kind of adverts on the TV or whatever. They did a plastic flower. They gave a plastic flower away with this detergent brand to say how plastic all amazing. And now my child is of the age where plastic is the devil. Plastic is the worst thing ever invented.
Yeah.
And like, she went to the beach with a friend on Saturday, and obviously Amy went. And she'd made on Friday when I was off, she'd made like a sign that said, and she'd written animals are dying because there's too much plastic in the sea, and drawn some dead jellyfish. They were dead because they had crosses for eyes.
Right.
And then I'd written plastic with a red cross through it, and she'd stuck it on the bin when they were at the beach. All under her own sort of steam. She'd done it on her own.
She's an activist.
And it's like, wow, 30 years ago, plastic was amazing.
Yeah.
And 30 years before that, it was like space age.
Yeah.
And now it's like, get rid of it. We don't want it, single use especially, but where we can, like Volvo designing the whole interior of a car by using only their recycled vehicles that they've taken in, and Adidas doing sportswear from recycled bottles. I mean, I had a football shirt that was a full recycled.
I got a pair of shoes. It's all recycled plastic.
Yeah. So it just made me sort of think, that's in such a short space of time, how things have changed there. And it's it's the same with a lot of other things, but that was just an example that came about. But all those plastic parts of cars, we can recycle the metal, we recycle even the obviously cardboard's easy, but even the sort of film that cardboard parts are sometimes wrapped in, the stuff that you get on, if you buy like a multi-pack of something in this supermarket and it has that thin plastic film on it, we can recycle that. In the cardboard place, they'll recycle that. But actual plastic car components, nothing they want. We can't do that. That type of plastic, we can't do that. And it's like, where do they go?
Yeah.
Where do they? What?
That's a good question. Like, what do we do with that stuff?
Where do they go? Like, I was in a building the other day that had in the lobby. It was a high rise. It was in JLT, and there was a Duracell bin for used lead acid little battery things. And I thought, that's cool. Just bring them down with you when you leave, and somebody's recycling them. That's great, because otherwise, what do you do with them? It tells you not to throw them away, so where do you put them? But plastic car parts, everything's got plastic on it now, and what we throw them away. We have no option. We don't know what else to do with them.
We need to talk to Enviroserve, find out what they're doing with that stuff.
Because
that's kind of interesting. Take some of those parts and see what that, take the whole dash of a car that's going to be junked and say, okay, what can we separate this into? And let them run it through their system and see what they can do. Because it's just a will weigh kind of thing, right? And I guess we're trying to get prices of cars down. We're trying to think, okay, we've got to sell it, but we're not thinking about, hold on, we've got to front load the recycling of this entire vehicle. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
Sort of the stripping it down and putting it in the junkyard. Like, I think there's things that need to go to the junkyard, but then there's stuff it only lives in the junkyard so long before now it's got weeds growing out of it. Let's get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of plastic failures again at the minute, and things that, like I say, just make you think. Having had that conversation with my daughter about, it's a bit rubbish, isn't it? That we do that, and genuinely don't know what else to do. There's a sort of feeling of helplessness about it, where you think, what do I do here? How can I?
Well, and here's another example of the frustration of the plastic overuse of plastic. Is I go to the fruit and veg market, and I take my own bags, and I will buy stuff that somehow they've put on a piece of styrofoam and they've covered in plastic, and I'll take it off of the thing, and put it all into my jute bags, and then I will separate the styrofoam thing and go put it back in their pile, but then I'm left with this plastic stuff. Or the better one, so at least they kind of sort that out, but they're minimizing it. And I said, if there was just a bin, if you had these also in a bin, I would just go buy them out of the bin instead of buying it out of your package thing. But then they put those little sticky notes on it, the sticky things. And I said to the guy, I said, really? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I try to get them to put it on one sheet of paper so that I can then put the sheet of paper in the recycling bin. they don't want to do that. They want to put it on the bags. I'm going, like, really? Like,
Yeah.
you see me walking over, you're like, you think I'm going to now go over to the Onions and buy 4 more and toss them in? Like, honestly. But the guys and the ladies have gotten so cognizant to my method here, because as they're scanning the stuff and putting in it, I'm ripping off those little stickers and putting them on my hand. They're doing it as they're scanning it. They're sticking and so I'm eliminating the amount of waste that I'm taking home. But they've still got that waste that now has to be gotten rid of. Yeah. And it's in one case we're stopping the waste on one side, but it's being picked up on another side. This is frustrating.
It is very, very frustrating. We're in the process of going paperless.
It's hard.